lot of people are here for a long time. A lot of people are here for a little time, and we're still people. We're human, you know. I mean, it's not like we're any worse or any better than anybody else that comes along in here, you know.
Come on in, guys.
I didn't want to just go in and teach courses in philosophy and literature to the inmates. I wanted to bring students inside with me.
What's up? Hey.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Sure, and I'll shake your hand again.
Okay.
Next thing you know, I'm getting an acceptance letter from UAS. I'm like, what? I have it plaqued up on my wall. Like, I'm going to school. I'm going to school, you know? Like,
we don't want to just re-enter people back into the community. We want to get them back into the community in a strong, healthy, and supported way so that they do not recidivate.
Inspired by programs such as Inside Out, happening in the lower 48, Sol Neely, a professor of English at the University of Alaska Southeast, began bringing students into Juneau's Lemon Creek Correctional Facility in 2012. Among the class's procedures is to have students moderate. This week's leader is Christopher Paul Gonzalez.
It looks like we are being recorded, and I mean, it's not like it's something new. We got cameras everywhere inside here, so I guess we'll just go with the flow. I've been taking the class for about 3 years now, ever since pretty much I missed the first one, but then everyone after that. We've been doing a lot of different types of classes, like we did Othello, like we're doing right now. We've done existentialism, the study on that. We've done literature born on struggle, the V for Vendetta, that was a good one.
Iambic means it's unaccented, accented, and pentameter. You see 5 meters, so there's 5 feet. So you say the robbed that smiles steals something from the thief, right? So you see what I'm saying? That's one line of poetry, right? See, the robbed, it's unaccented, accented. The robbed that smiles steals something from the thief.
The class is studying Shakespeare's Othello. Among the day's activities is reading lost scenes or fictitious scenes that the students have composed themselves.
Man, remind me to never piss you off, because you got some serious issues for real. But I like it because you're keeping it real too, and just looking out for your set and your little homies. We gotta jet and see what plays out with these 2 cats later days.
The University of Alaska Southeast is about a 15-minute drive from the prison. Brandon Johnson, Sean Jessup, Nathan Block, and Marcos Galindo are among a group of some 50 students who began taking classes on the inside. They're now 4 of about a dozen former inmates enrolled at UAS. Galindo is one of the Flying University's original students.
Things were going good. You know, somebody called me a wetback, and I beat the brakes off of him, which now I know, because I could think critically, that that's not the way you approach racism. So, I wish I'd known that then. But it did set me on the path, right? I got to meet Saul, right? So not only I would have been in school, but it would have been a lot harder, right? Saul put this whole thing in motion. This whole Fine University thing wouldn't exist without Saul, right? It would none of this would have existed without Saul, because he paved this path of fellowship, you know. Through education, right? It's not based on anything. It's based on education. Like, here, we're going to read some cool stuff, and we're going to talk about it. So if it probably wasn't without him, I'd probably be selling heroin. I'll be honest with you. I'd probably be coming to school and doing bad things, and try to come to school, go back to prison, go back to California, doing life, probably dead, who knows. A lot of bad things, evilness, if it wasn't for the Flying University.
The Flying University has historical origins in the Soviet Union, actually. My teacher, Martin Matustik, was a young philosophy student in Czechoslovakia when the Soviet tanks rolled in 1968. And they began to take up secret, illegal philosophy courses, right? They were taught by Jan Patočka, Václav Havel was in attendance, and Martin Matustik was one of their students. In 1977, Havel and Patočka drafted the Charter 77 Human Rights Agreement, and Martin Matustik was one of the student signatories of that. Well, that brought a lot of attention by the secret police to them, and in 1978, their secret philosophy courses, which they called the Flying University, were raided by the secret police. And Patočka died from his interrogation wounds, so he died a Socratic death, right? He died at the hands of the state for corrupting the youth. And Matustik, he had to flee, and he ended up in the United States, and I became his student, and I spent some time studying in Czech Republic with him. I read Havel and Levinas and these folks who shaped his own academic genealogy. And so the first semester when I started teaching Havel and Levinas inside the prison, and I told them the story of the Flying University, they were really taken by that. And then the following semester, when Martin Matustik and Patricia Huntington came into the prison, that's when the guys decided we want to call what we're doing here the Flying University, right?
Back in prison, Neely arranged for Catherine Woodkey to join the class. She's a professional actor playing Desdemona in Perseverance Theater's production of Othello.
How do you, Desdemona?
Well, my good lord.
Give me your hand. This hand is moist, my lady.
It hath felt no age, nor known no sorrow.
This argues fruitfulness and liberal heart. Hot, hot.
The guys that are going to the class, they enjoy it a lot, and they seem to get stuff out of it. It's fun because if they'll take like one. Usually, what happens is they'll come in, they'll take all the vo-tech classes they can get, and then they discover that Paul and I aren't so bad. So then they'll start to take the other classes that are more the social type classes, and that's good because they learn how to talk to people because they forget how to. I mean, they'll tell you that themselves, it's like, how do you interact with a woman when I haven't seen really any women, even, COs, you don't react the same way or, have the same type of relationship you would with somebody that you see on the street or, things like that. So it's good that they have that interaction. I think it's the soft skill things that they don't learn or forget about, but most of the time I think they probably haven't learned them. That stuff gets integrated into it, and then maybe they'll go to college. We got guys that were in here and now going to college full time because I'll help them do their FAFSA applications and things like that too. So
my last day of the Flying University when we were getting all of our certificates, we're eating cereal?
Yeah.
Cereal and bananas.
Cereal, bananas, chocolate milk, and
chocolate milk and eggnog. And
it was a weird
stuffed
variety
my
of
face
sweetness.
full of it. I was just like, oh yeah, tricks. I haven't had tricks forever. And then all of a sudden my name gets called up. Nathan Block, your parole interview is up, and I ran down, had my parole interview, and ran back up, and that was the very last day of class. And then that night, my PO called me to her office and told me that I had gotten parole and got out and went to the university, straight to the university. I said, "I'm gonna excuse my language, F the job center, F treatment. I'm going straight to school." That's where my ambitions lied.
A sequester from liberty, fasting, and prayer, much castigation, exercise, devout. For here is a younger and sweating devil here, that commonly rebels. 'Tis a good hand, a frank one.
You may indeed say so, for 'twas that hand that gave away my heart.
People look at Othello and they're like, wow, he changes so quickly, and that jealousy and sickness take hold of him so fast. But really, coming just having come out of this very brutal war and coming home to a new wife who he's probably known for a much shorter time than Iago. You know, just it's interesting.
Worked a long time on my GED and I eventually got it. And then I got to the halfway house and I had various jobs. Working at Bullwinkles, working at Super Bear, and
Stupid Bear.
yeah, Super Bear, and I just got tired of it. I didn't like the job, so you know I was like I quit. But the whole time I was working there, Marcos was like, "Dude, I'm going to school. It's great. Like you can get money to go to school." It's like, what? For real? And then
But you gotta pay it back.
yeah, then you gotta pay back. Well,
charge it to me.
That's later.
Well, that seems to be the question, right? If that affects everybody, right? Is like no one thinks that they can pay for it. You know, they don't really know about fast food. You know,
Yeah.
because mommy and daddy, they think mommy and daddy has to pay for it.
I had no idea. I had no idea about fast food. I had no idea about loans. I never thought I'd ever go to college. I mean, like hardly anybody in my family has ever been to college, so like it seemed like a pretty far out thing for me, you know, and definitely with my background and my criminal history and you know and my tattoos and everything like came into play. Like I can really do this, you know. And I quit Super Bear and I called up Marcos and I was like, is this school for real?
I remember that phone call.
Is this school for real? He's like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, where do I sign up, man? Like help me. You gotta help me. I have no idea what the hell I'm doing, man. So I'm you know, running around, filling out my FAFSA, doing all that, and then I got to school and it's my third semester. It's my second year. I'm doing good. My GPA's good.
He has the highest GPA of the fine university.
For now.
Say you take me in, feed me, clothe me, teach me how to grow food and everything, and then my grandson comes and kills off your grandson.
See?
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
I was thinking too, because she's still like she gets strangled and then she still even has some things to say, you know, afterwards. And I was like,
She was just like lay there,
at the
like,
very end of it,
sitting,
it goes, now she's dead, or she's dead now.
And so is Iago there?
Yeah. See, like he's the one that helps him out,
So he's not a bad guy?
like stage the whole thing, you know, would be like seems out to be this murderous, corrupting person, but all along he's helping them go along.
I like that idea.
With their scheme, with their plan to. He lets us run the show. You seem like when we're in there, I was the moderator, the person that comes in and like leads the group. You know, I mean that's a great thing right there, all on its own. Just as well as the students that do come in, they participate just as much as we do. And like you've seen, I forgot his name, the one that was talking about his play and then how he performed the pirate play. I mean, us getting a little piece of that, I mean, that's great. You know, it's being able to see that. That's humor. That's something that I'm going to laugh about when I go back to them.
And right at that moment, Cassio and 40 other of these guys come up, and Cassio's like, "What up, bitches?" And he comes in with 40 guys, and they save the day, and it's basically, you know, Iago's like, "Okay, so, like, what were you going to say?" And he's like, Othello says, "Nothing, you know, just that we waited around for a long time."
This stuff is good. It brings people in that normally would not come in. They can see that they're just like everybody else, the guys that are in here. I mean, the guys that are in here did something bad, but, you know, there's guys in here that were good until they were 35, 45 years old and made one mistake, and that was a big mistake, and now they're in here for a long time. So it doesn't, you know, one bad decision can just screw your life up big time, you know. And it's not just your freedom that you lose. You lose your house, and you lose all your stuff that you had, you know, your clothes, your family, your dog, you know, whatever you had, it's gone. So imagine all that stuff gone. You're in here for 2 or 3 months. Somebody goes and cleans all your stuff out. You get out. Now you don't have a house. Now your family doesn't want anything to do with you. You know, all your possessions, from silverware to books to whatever you had, you don't have that anymore. And you're supposed to get out and get a job and meet your PO and, you know, go to drug and alcohol class and and be good and not be stressed. And if you're stressed, learn how to not be stressed so that you don't really want to go back and drink, because you know that's not a good idea, because that's what's got you in here in the first place. Yeah, it's not stressful at all. You know?
I got out, and then, you know, this is like my first experience, you know, like realizing what it is to be a felon. And it's like, go apply at every job possible and think that, you know, I have a good resume, and that, but once you check that felon box, it's like, it don't matter what your resume looks like, you know. Once you check that felon box, people are automatically assume, you know, what kind of person you are.
I really look at this as a shared responsibility, that it's shared with, first of all, the inmate. Certainly, the inmate has to take responsibility for their actions, but then we have to have a responsibility in DOC to make sure we give them opportunities to improve those behaviors, to deal with the aspects of their life through, you know, trauma in their lives of being raised in an alcoholic home, you know, victims of child abuse, you know, poor education, whatever the case may be. We have an opportunity and I think a responsibility to help build up those deficits so that they can be successful. And then the final part of the responsibility is the communities. Again, communities have got to help us and help the inmate have a smooth transition back, because again, they are from these communities. They are members of these communities. This is where they most often grew up and lived and went through their lives.
And local administration here in Juneau are doing great. I think they're doing great. I haven't had any problems with them, except they took me back to jail for being 15 minutes late, which is a technicality, and I understand it. I'm not mad, Brent. Brent has been awesome. He's been nothing but good to me. I went to Vermont to help talk about the Flying University, right? And I'm still on parole. I got P.O. Ward, who's been nothing but helpful for me. You know, she's been nothing but good and encouraging. Before that, I had P.O. Martin, who was my institutional P.O., and he's been nothing but good and encouraging. I haven't had any problems with these guys.
I would like to say that I would like for it to get better. I mean, and ways that it can get better is just for it to keep going, you know, for them to keep coming in, you know. I mean, people from the university, for Sol introducing new classes that are available on campus as well as in here.
Right now, I think it's worth noting that the program costs no money. It's all volunteer. So there's no tax burden or anything like that. What I would like to see in 5 or 10 years, the Flying University become is a prison education program that actually awards university credit. That would be a tremendous achievement, I believe. And we do have some support for that on campus and with our administration. These guys, right now, they get certificates of completion. Some of them are designated with distinction. That goes into their files. And if they need a letter of recommendation from me, I'm happy to do it. If it's for their parole board or for the guys coming out of UAS, I just wrote a letter of recommendation for one of our guys just this week. You know, so I can give that kind of incentive. But if they could get college credit, I think that would be even more meaningful for their lives.
We know that education is a critical component of successful reentry. That education is one of the most critical pieces. If they do not have education and skills to be able to go back out into the community and compete, then they're most likely going to fail.
The Flying University is unique in the state, and it's because of the resources available in Juneau. Those resources vary in the communities that house the other dozen correctional facilities, and their educational programs should reflect those communities' strengths, whether they be vocational, academic, or otherwise.
It's hands, not hearts.
I cannot speak of this. Come now, your promise.
What promise, Chuck?
I sent to bid Cassio come speak with you.
I have a salt and sorry rhythm. A friend offends me, lend me thy handkerchief.
Neely says his work with the Flying University is fulfilling, but there is something more.
The first thing we have to do is completely reimagine how we understand justice. I mean, that's the heart of it right there. We need to think about justice not in terms of retribution, but something that is more along the lines of restorative justice. But even restorative justice is difficult to talk about with some people, because what is it that you're restoring? There was nothing there to restore in the first place. It's hard to talk about rehabilitation if some people have never been habilitated. We have one young man who was a participant in the Flying University who published a poem in our first publication of poetry written by inmates. And it's a heart-wrenching poem in which he talks about his father locking him inside of a freezer just to see if he would freeze, or to throw him against the wall to see if he would break. In fact, in Vermont, I read this poem out loud, and here I am in front of an auditorium full of people, and I could barely hold my tears back. I mean, every time I read this poem, it just really wrenches at my heart. How do you rehabilitate somebody who's never been habilitated? So I think fundamentally reimagining how we understand justice is the first thing that the community really needs to do.
Perhaps Gonzalez, Galindo, Jessup, Johnson, Block, and the rest of the Flying University can help affect this change.
Through education, everything is possible. Nothing is impossible. So if we just go through the right process, we can become educated, and we can educate said community, and we can be anything we want.
All right, my name is Sol, and in my time capsule for 100 years, I would say the prison industrial complex has been abolished, and there used to be these things called prisons, but not anymore. Build community.